Yeah, 1,000 wins. I was thinking I had to Google it this morning because I was the games that I actually played in my lettering years. We had 41 wins in my 4 years. So if you think about how long it takes to get from 41 to 1,000, I mean, it just shows you that it's decades, century, and decades on top of it of just excellence and continuing to win. And you got to think that there's a lot of schools that have been around with the football programs the same or similar amount of time, and the fact that some of those schools were 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 wins more than them just shows you how long they've been doing it here at quality football.
What does it mean to be such a substantial part of it?
I think, to be the one team in since the 40s that has won a national championship, I think the '97 team is always looked at in a different light a little bit. And so for us to have a 12-0 season that obviously counts towards that 1,000 mark, I think just to be a part of a team that was a special year in a lot of years that this program's been around is something special.
When you were here, and maybe since you graduated and so forth, went on to your pro career, when you look at the men who built this place,
Right.
how did that motivate you or inspire you as an athlete here?
Yeah, I mean, coming from South Florida, having not grown up in this state, maybe not knowing the ins and outs of all the traditions and all the people that came before, the guys that played here, went to school here. When you're growing up in Florida, you get kind of infatuated with those helmets and those uniforms on TV, and then you come here and you realize, from us going back in the 1800s and teaching Notre Dame how to play football, and just the things that this school has done for the sport of football, and the different eras and different guys that come through, and Heisman winners, and guys that went on to be Hall of Famers, and presidents and actors that played here, and it's a special place.
Can you tell me what it's like to be part of that brotherhood? Whether a guy played 50 years ago or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
There's got to be a connection to this team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a connection. If you know of one another, oh, that guy played in Michigan. Oh, then obviously it's like you've known him your whole life. But I think it's bigger than that. I mean, you can go anywhere in the world wearing a Michigan hat or a Block M on a shirt, and you're gonna hear a "Go Blue," from somebody who was either an alum or had a relative that was alum, or works for the university in some capacity. So I think, and it's an instant bond. You start talking. Maybe you're on the subway somewhere. You're waiting at an airport, and you start talking about, oh, how are we going to be at the end of the year? What's the Ohio State game look like? I mean, there's a bond between anybody that went to this school, whether you played or not. But having played and having that brotherhood is even more special.
How did this place impact you and help make you the man you became?
Yeah, I think I think the way that all the coaches that ever run this program that were charged with being the head coach, and I obviously was here under Lloyd's tenure. Lloyd instilled in us pretty quick. It was more about the character and the person and the way you carried yourself. That was more important than wins or losses. And so to be on a Lloyd team, just as it would be to be on a Bo team, or a Fritz team, or a Gary Moeller team, or a Harbaugh team, or a Brady Hoke team, you had to be the right man before you could be the right teammate. And I think when you get a group of guys together that are the right people, success will come. And you learn a lot of lessons. You learn what it's like to lean on somebody. You learn on what it's like to depend on somebody other than yourself. You learn on what you learn to be what it's like on a team where everything you do on a daily basis is bigger than yourself. And when you learn to be selfless, and play for each other. I think it carries the guys that at least played here, carries them through life pretty good.
You talked about '97. The Rose Bowl obviously has got to be the top of the heap, I would think.
Yeah.
Other than that game, can you reflect on a game that maybe something special?
Yeah, I mean, the Rose Bowl game was a lot like playing in a Super Bowl for me. It was kind of a blur, and I was a redshirt freshman, so I'm trying to, take it all in for the first time and play in the game at the same time. Obviously, that game was the pinnacle of that season for us, and having Lloyd say, that famous, speech after the game, you just won the national championship. Of course, that was all great, but you look around that schedule that year, and you remember back on some of the games where maybe it wasn't so easy going as that game wasn't. It was close, right? It was within a score at the end, but I never felt like there was a chance we were going to lose that game. You go back to Iowa here. I mean, we were down, was it 24, 21-7 a half or something like that, and the adversity we had to come back in the second half and win that game. Opening up versus Colorado that year, I think they were ranked in the top 10, top 5, if not mistaken. We were way towards the back if we weren't ranked at all. And they had some big names on that team, on that roster, and came in here with, just off the top of my head, Jeff Backus at left tackle, myself left guard, Steve Frazier started his first game at center. It might have been Chris Zeman at right guard. I think Jansen was the only one on the offensive line that has played in a collegiate game prior to that game. So 4 of the 5 have never taken a snap. Some of the key positions that way, and again, it goes back to play for the guy next to you. You don't have time to be a big-eyed freshman and go, I need a half or a game to figure this out. You had a bunch of fifth-year guys. This is their last go-around, and they've relied on us to do our job so that they could potentially win their senior year. And so I think you look at some of those games like that. I think those are some of the games that stand out.
I'll ask you 2 questions, a little bit off topic.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought, if you wouldn't have been moved to offensive tackle, what may have transpired?
Yeah, I kind of think about that all the time. Came in here as a D lineman, knowing how stacked and deep our D line was, and then going, preparing for spring ball that next year. Have known that Damon Denson was graduating. He was our left guard, and our backup left guard, who was a former walk-on who had graduated in 4, he was moving on with his career, so he wasn't coming back. So there was a big hole at left guard there, and of course we were 3 or 4 deep with good players. And I was like, even if I broke my way into the rotation, you're still rotating with a bunch of good guys, as it should be on the D line. But for me, I was like, you know what? I played both offense and defense in high school. Get on the field and be on the field if I went to offense. So, made that switch and really didn't look back.
Can you tell me how much you enjoy what this program is doing now and the way they're doing it?
Yeah, it was a long decade or so of trying to figure out who we were again, and I think Jim's done a good job of bringing back a lot of the traditions that have been here forever, but also keeping up with the way the game is evolved. So, I think I speak for probably most alum. I think we're happy to watch the team that takes the field and represents this university every Saturday, and we're in their corner. We've got their back. We're always rooting them on, and I think it was fun to watch them get into the playoffs the last 2 years and kind of secure their footing as one of the teams that's talked about. And I'm sure there's nobody that wants it to take it the next step more than the team that's out there right now.